Hi everyone, Danny Bader here, and I'm excited to welcome you back to yet another episode of our podcast, 11 Minutes to Inspiration, where we offer you information, some interviews with some really cool people, and simply observations for your consideration that are all designed to support you in being inspired to continue creating a happy and fulfilling life. Because after all, that's why we're here, right? Hi everybody, and welcome to another edition of 11 Minutes to Inspiration. I'm really delighted today to have, I have 6 brothers, but then in my life, I'm fortunate enough to have a couple guys that I call my 7th brother. And this is one of them, Dr. Bobby Sinnott, because he married my only sister, Trish. So when I started this podcast, 11 Minutes to Inspiration, my thought was I'll use 11 because we'll keep it to 11 minutes. It'll be a short message for people. When I started to interview some of the cool people that I've had on so far, I realized 11 minutes is not long enough. So I kept that, and 11 has the significance because I don't study numerology a whole lot, but the number 11 that I saw a whole lot after the accident that I had is all about new beginnings and continuing on the journey and perseverance. So 11 is a real important number to me, and that's kind of why we keep it. So I would offer to everybody that as we converse now, you look for 11 minutes of our conversation and what Bobby's going to share that can, plant some seeds of inspiration for you, or maybe just kind of nurture that soil, because as you know, inspiration's an inside game, right? And it's just people that we come across in life that can kind of give us a little bit more of that. So my 7th brother, Bobby, why don't you give us, before you tell us a little bit about who you are, why don't you just tell everybody real quick how we met, because that's a good story.
Well, I started dating Trish, and she had 7 brothers, she told me. And I'm like, wow, 7 brothers. So one night, Trish and I were alone in her rec room. And, as each brother kind of strolled in, we waited for Dan to come home. And Dan came in. And I think Dan had a few pops that night. And
I was in college. I might have had a few beers.
And he saw that Trish and I were, we're on the couch under the blankets.
Right.
No hanky panky. We were just comfortable. And Dan came in, and I think he had a few pops. And he just came in. Who's that guy with my sister? His beer muscles were showing, but it was cool. That was our first meeting, but since then it's grown into an incredible, loving relationship. And that
was probably 1983, I guess, right? Because you guys got married in '85.
Yeah, we met in '82, so it was
March
of '82. Yeah,
right.
We were a senior. Yeah.
And then, as my sister does, she moves things along probably, so you didn't have much of a choice.
No. But we knew we were meant to be together. And,
yeah.
Having great families just made it so much better.
Yeah, well, you're certainly wonderful for her over these years. So give us a quick snapshot into who Bobby Sinnott is, kind of the elevator talk.
Well, I'm one of 7 children. I was born and raised in Philadelphia, Logan section, Cardinal Doherty High School. Whenever you're from Philly, no matter where you are in the world, you say, what high school did you go to? So I went to Doherty. I went to Lycoming College, went to med school, trained to be a general surgeon, then did a fellowship in colorectal surgery and practiced in Doylestown, and then back up in Lehigh Valley, where my practice is still there. So that's kind of what I do. I'm very fortunate to be married to your sister, who's an amazing woman, and we'll talk more about her.
Yeah.
I have 4 kids, 3 boys and a daughter, Matthew, Patrick, Stephen, and Kathleen, better known as Gels Bells.
Gels Bells, yes.
And, I've had a very blessed life.
Yeah. And in college, you wrestled?
High school, I wrestled and played football. College, I played football.
Colleges played football, linebacker, right?
Yeah.
All MAC? Yeah.
Long time ago, but yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. You got to own that. You got to own that, Doc.
Yeah.
So, great life surgeon. I've certainly been blessed to read some of the letters over the years that people have sent to you, how you've impacted their life. So certainly big, huge heart, talented surgeon. But on a different journey now over the past couple of years. So why don't you let everybody know 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, so about 2-3 years ago, I started having some issues with my left hand, just some cramping. So a bunch of docs, they thought it was other things. Needless to say, I was officially diagnosed with ALS about a year ago. It'll be a year in January when I was officially diagnosed. ALS can be a tough diagnosis to nail down. It's not the first thing that people think of when you have some problems, but nonetheless, I was diagnosed in January of 2018, and obviously that has significantly changed my life and our life.
You were 58 then.
58 years old when I was diagnosed, which is, it's more common in men, probably mid-50s is the average time for diagnosis.
So and 59 now you are.
59, yeah.
Yeah, 59. So what I mean, what was there's our fearless. Come, Trish, say hi real quick. Come. Oh, Trish is in sweatshirt.
She doesn't have the right outfit.
She's very domesticated.
Yeah.
Yes. Bye. I love you. She's doing laundry or something.
Yeah.
So I mean, what was that? Tell us what it was like, man. We all get curveballs in life, and this
you
is
know,
a huge one.
you get thrown curveballs, and you get crosses to bear in your life. And like I said, we've been very blessed in our life. We've been free of any major health problems, and I knew at some point we would have a cross to bear. I didn't think I'd have this one to bear, but I knew that we would have a cross to bear. So. Obviously, it's had a huge impact on me in many ways. First, professionally, because ALS can affect people in different ways. Some people can present with a weakness of their foot. Some people can present with speech problems. I presented with a hand problem, and that has progressed to the point where I can no longer work. It's kind of ironic that I'm a surgeon and I've used my hands my whole life, and my greatest disability with my ALS presently is weakness of my hands.
Right.
But we've learned to adapt, and we're still living life, and we're moving forward.
So what did you go through there? I mean, this, when you realize that who you are, surgeon is a big part of that.
Right.
I mean, there's so many people out here, all of us, that have to deal with our crosses, a whole scale of them, right? So the intensity of them. What did you think? Because there's probably somebody out there that's at that stage where you were, that will benefit from hearing some of your insight.
Well, I think if you're having a physical issue, talk to your doctor. I mean, that's important. I think some people try to self-diagnose. I certainly didn't, but I think when you're faced with this, I think you have to come to the reality of what is it, what is the diagnosis, and what's available for treatment, and what can you do to move forward. Obviously ALS is it's a devastating disease. It's a progressive neurodegenerative disease, meaning that there's presently no cure. There's a lot of research and there's a lot of things going on, but for the people who have ALS, there's no game changer, as a lot of doctors talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one pill you can take, or there's no single therapy that will either stop or reverse the disease. So I think you have to decide at this point, once you have something like this, how do you want to live the rest of your life? And we made a decision early on with Trish that we were going to try and count our blessings, and we were going to try and be positive and get the best out of every day. She said to me early on, if we have one more year together, we're going to make it the best year we've ever had together. So we've had a year so far, and it's been an amazing year. I'm still doing pretty good physically.
Yeah, you are.
I pay attention to my doctors, and there's a lot of aspects of care that we're pursuing with this.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of management, for me, there's really only 2 drugs that have been approved by the FDA for therapy. I'm on the one pill that I'm taking, and then there's a lot of other things you can do, though. I truly believe in the power of positive thinking.
Yeah, right.
Physical therapy is very important. And just surrounding yourself with, positive people, I think, has a huge impact on how we live our life.
Mm-hmm. So treatment so far, I know you're out of the country getting some treatment.
Yeah, so my treatment path has been a little different. As I mentioned, there's only 2 drugs that have been approved, and neither one, as the docs will say, are game changers. The goal of the therapy is to kind of slow progression. I think that's what everybody wants, in the hopes that someday something will pop up that'll, miraculously reverse the disease. So then you kind of look at what are your options. There's a lot of clinical trials that are going on, and one of them is stem cell therapy. There is a trial here in the United States that we initially were enrolled in, but for different reasons, we decided to withdraw from that trial, and we pursued therapy outside of the country. And the way it's given, there's only 2 other places in the world that it's given the way it should be, and one is in China, one is in Seoul, South Korea. So we contacted Dr. Kim in Seoul, South Korea. We sent him all my information. He accepted us as a patient, and we traveled to Seoul, South Korea. Trish and I, we went over there in September, where they take the stem cells out of your bone marrow in your hip. They have to grow it for 30 days. So we came home, and then we went back over for the first treatment, which went very well. The people in Seoul couldn't have been nicer. Incredibly respectful, and the healthcare. I was a little nervous, being a physician going to another country for healthcare.
Sure,
but when we got there, Dr. Kim and his team put us at great ease, and it was a seamless operation.
Right.
The treatments went well. We took a break in between. There's 2 treatments that they give 30 days apart. And so we took a break in between, and we went to Hawaii for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The family went there.
And how was those 2 weeks? I know
Hawaii,
some of the stories. We won't get into all of them.
Hawaii was amazing because it was kind of halfway between here and Seoul, and it enabled our kids to spend some time with us because we were away for almost 7 weeks. So we had a great 2 weeks in Hawaii. We found a great house on the beach in Oahu in a little town called Lanikai. Shout out to the people of Hawaii, beautiful people, and Hawaii is just beautiful paradise.
Right?
I mean, we had a great time for 2 weeks. We had a house on the beach. We didn't have air conditioning in our place, which is unheard of for us, but we let the wind of the ocean kind of blow through the windows of the ocean, and it was beautiful. And we had probably the best 2 weeks we've ever had as a family, just being together. We planned some trips. We met some incredible people on our trips. But I think just being together on the beach every day and just laughing, which was great. As Trish says, there's 7 weeks. If we weren't going to Seoul and traveling for such a sad reason, we probably had some of the funnest times we've had together as a couple.
Oh, yeah.
We were together every day for 42 days. And I don't know how many married couples can say that they've been together every day for 42 days. So it was amazing. It was.
I don't know how many married couples would want to say that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was really amazing. And then, we went back over and had our second treatment. And again, everything went well. We learned a lot about ourselves and about my condition. And to realize that there's other options out there other than what's standard. So that's what we elected to pursue. And, I think it was a very positive experience. And, it's hard to say the impact long-term medically. But again, it's meant as a stabilizing therapy, not as a cure. We were very, they were very clear about that from the start.
Yeah.
But we were very fortunate that we were able to do that.
You mentioned Bobby, and I've certainly known you for so long, but give some insight to these people. The power of that positive mindset. And, I remember when Trish and I were talking, and you and I were talking, and we weren't sure about this diagnosis, and then we were sure. I think you and I went out and grabbed sandwiches and had a few Guinness when the first time I was up here. You go through mentally something when shit like this happens, right? Catastrophe, tragedy. Where are you now in terms of your mindset and your positive attitudes? And if you catch yourself feeling, we always talk about holding useful thoughts, right? Useful thoughts to move us forward. How do you catch yourself if you're slipping in that thought pattern, and how do you get back to move through this?
Yeah, it's not easy. I think for the first, deep down, I was worried about this diagnosis before I was officially diagnosed because, I'm in medicine and I've known people with ALS, and, I knew that some of my symptoms did quite add up, despite seeing a lot of different doctors. So when the diagnosis finally came, it was kind of weird in some ways. It was almost a relief that we finally have the diagnosis now.
Sure,
And then we spent a lot of time and energy just, I got multiple opinions from multiple high-level academic institutions, and, finally came to the conclusion that this is what we have, and then we have to try to understand what are the options for management. So, that took a lot of time and effort to understand therapies, understand clinical trials, understand research, and so much of that consumed so much of our time that we were just so focused on, okay, what's the next step? And we're gonna battle this, and we're gonna go to the next step, and we're gonna try and figure this out. I am very fortunate to be married to your sister, who is someone who never takes no for an answer. Right. And she never does. And so she wasn't going to say, okay, these are the 2 drugs, go home and take them, and we'll see you back in 6 months. So that was not going to be our course. So that's why we pursued all these different options, and we finally decided on the stem cell therapy in Seoul. Our motto for this whole thing, and Trish is the one who coined the phrase, is that we're heartbroken, but we're not broken. And that means that, we allow ourselves time to be sad, but we're not going to allow that sadness and despair to dominate our day, because if it does, then you can get really depressed, and you can not want to move forward or do anything.
Right.
So we also count our blessings. I think the happier people are people who count their blessings as opposed to their troubles.
Right.
And so we focus on our blessings, and we focus on the support and love that we have around us, and that keeps us going. And when I really have a sad day, I've been very fortunate to receive the love and support of so many people. So many people. People have really reached out to us. And so if I really get sad, Trish has kept every card we've received. And they're in a bin in the closet. And she said, if you ever get sad, just take a look at all these cards, and look at all the people that love you, and all the people that care about you and us and our kids and everybody. So they're the things that keep me going.
Yeah.
And plus, I have to create goals for myself. I think
Yeah.
that's very important. That's something my mom always taught me because she says, if you have a goal, then you don't have to worry about bad things happening. So,
Right.
I create goals for myself. So,
Yeah.
so that's important.
Yeah.
You know.
So I knew your mom and dad, right? Why don't you just give a quick, because faith for us is so important, right? For Bobby and myself, a belief in something bigger. Your mom passed when?
About 6 years ago.
About 6, and Speedy, his dad,
About 15.
about 15 or so. So how has their soul, their spirit, supported you on this journey at all?
Well, I think it depends on what you consider prayer and what your prayer life is. So,
Right.
and I think it also depends on what your faith is. So,
Yes.
and sometimes I think when bad things happen to people, you can either run from your faith or run to your faith. We elected to run to our faith. We don't question God. We do question God, but we don't blame Him. We don't say, "Why me?" We just say, "Well, this is what we have. This is the cross that we have. So we're going to bear it." And so our faith is very important for us, and that faith started with my parents. We were raised Catholic. We were raised that we go to church every Sunday and we pray grace before dinner. And my parents, instilled in us that faith is important in your life. And so my mom and dad were two incredible people. My dad was, your typical, World War II veteran, blue collar guy, worked 6 hours, six days a
Tank
week.
driver.
Battle of the Bulge survivor. He worked 6 days a week and 2 nights of overtime. My mom, in addition to raising 7 kids, was a registered nurse, and she worked night duty, which means she went in at 11 o'clock at night, did private duty at Temple Hospital, and came home at 7, somehow got us off to school, and she just never slept. I don't know. She was an amazing woman. Her maiden name was Love.
Love.
And it's the perfect name for her because she demonstrated every quality of love that you can describe.
Yeah.
And she was just an amazing, amazing woman. Never heard her say a bad thing her whole life.
She was
just filled with love and just willing to please and just willing to serve, and was an amazing woman. I was so blessed to have 2 great parents like that. And so I feel their spirit. I feel my mom's spirit a little bit more than my dad's, but I feel my dad's spirit too. And we talked about this before. Do you ever fear their presence? And I felt my mom's presence at least 3 or 4 times where I actually felt that she was with me. A couple of times it happened in church. And it's kind of a weird feeling to describe. I know you've experienced it, but it's just a feeling of total, utter peace. And it's an incredible feeling. And I've had that a couple times with my mom, and I've had it once or twice with my dad. I had it with my dad when I went back up to Cumming College, where we honored my coach.
Right.
And we took a group picture.
Yeah, great story.
And we sat in the stands, and I tried to sit exactly where my dad sat because he would usually sit in the same spot. And towards the end of the picture, I just felt his presence with me. Again, it was just a feeling of him and peace, and he and I being together. And everyone kind of got off the bleachers and went to the tent to have some cocktails, and they kept yelling, "Bob, come on down, come on down." But I said, "I'm not leaving until this feeling leaves me."
Yeah.
And it was, I cried a little bit, but it was an amazing feeling. So I do feel their presence, and they're still in my life, and I'm very pleased about it. But I keep telling them I don't want to see you anytime soon. So.
That's right. You're up there. Let's keep rolling.
Yeah.
So in that vein, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, physically I'm doing pretty good. Again, my main problem is my hands. As a surgeon, you don't have a surgeon who can't use his hands. So unfortunately, I can no longer work as a surgeon.
Right.
I'm still part of my practice. I still help out with education and some other things we're involved with. So it's important to do that. I think it's important for me mentally to stay active in that part of the practice. We're starting to become more active in ALS associations.
Yeah.
I'm presently being followed by an amazing team down in Temple, headed by Dr. Terry Patterson, and she has an amazing group of therapists. When you're followed with ALS, you essentially have to pick your team. It's a team of therapists that help you adjust to things when you need them. So there's a physical therapist, an occupational therapist who helps me with different things with my hands. Little things like how do you button a shirt, how do you tie your shoes, how do you put socks on. All the little things that you never thought about before now takes more time and takes more effort. There's a mental health expert, Mary, who we talked a little bit about, who helps us kind of summarize our feelings in words that are pretty concise and very accurate. She's very accurate, and there's Donna, who's a speech therapist. So, and Sarah, the physical. They're just an amazing group of people, and we're very comfortable. And I think we chose Temple because of the compassion that we felt with Dr. Patterson, and also her experience and knowledge base, and her continued interest in pursuing research protocols to kind of find a cure for this. But I think one of the reasons, in addition to Dr. Patterson and her incredibly wonderful team, was my mom was a nurse at Temple. And when we went into the office, I kind of felt her spirit there a little bit. And I said, I felt this voice saying, this is the place where you're going to be followed. So that's what we're doing at this point.
You got to listen to your mom, right? You
Yeah.
got to listen to your mom all the time. But there's also a great research up in Boston.
There's
the therapy development TDI, right?
For Augie's Quest. Yeah.
ALS TDI, right?
Yeah. Augie's Quest is, Augie's a guy who had ALS, still alive, doing well. Has raised millions of dollars for research, and he's kind of put together his own research team to, find a cure for ALS. So he's got a team of people just dedicated to finding a cure for ALS. They're just starting phase 1 clinical trials of a drug they've developed.
Yeah, 1501 or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so they're doing their first clinical trials, and we'll see what that does. Hopefully, that's going to provide some promise. Because he's been, he's been living with ALS, I think, for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And he and his wife have a foundation where they've raised millions of dollars that a lot of people have benefited. So if you ever think about charities, I think it's important to give. For those who have much is expected, right? And I think it's a good thing to donate money to whatever charity that you think is important. But ALS, I think, when the Ice Bucket Challenge happened, that was happening years ago, I think it raised so much awareness for ALS. One, awareness for ALS, because the incidence of diagnosis is probably increasing.
Yeah.
And
how many folks with ALS in the U.S.?
About 20,000.
20,000.
It depends on who you talk to, but the incidence is rising. It's more, as I mentioned, more common in men than women, but I think the awareness now is out there, and I think we're going to get a cure, but there's a lot of research to be done, and there's a lot of things that have to be understood about the disease. And so we're getting there. We're getting closer.
Yeah. No, I think it's great too, and I've seen a lot of stuff on Facebook now around fundraising. And I know Steve, my nephew Bobby, we're going to do some Jackrabbit T-shirts co-branded with ALS TDI up there, so we'll be selling some T-shirts and trying to get some good messages out there for people as well. So path forward.
Our path forward
daily
is
treatment.
I think I'm on standard medicine, a drug called Riluzole, and then I'm on something called the Vienna Protocol, which was developed by a doctor whose daughter had ALS, and I think that helps me. I'm also working with a nutritionist who has me on some other supplements. Give a shout out to my buddy George, who his mother had ALS, and he's kind of dedicated a good portion of his life to providing supplements. A lot of supplement data and things like that. It's not. There's not a lot of hardcore data to support its use, because it's a hard thing to study. But I think for me it helps, and I think it does help me. So we're doing that, and physical therapy is very important. Working with a great therapist by the name of Brandon, and we go to him 3 days a week, and I think that's really important part of the care. It's, again, exercise and how it pertains to ALS. It's one of those things that wasn't clearly understood, but it's very important. I think more and more data is coming out how important it is every day. And that's our path at the present time. We're debating whether or not to go back to South Korea. We're thinking about probably going back again in 6 months. Dr. King feels as though every 6 to 8 months it may be a benefit. So, I think it's helped me. My leg strength is still good. So we're just going to live every day the best we can and enjoy things as best we can. I'm blessed to have so many amazing people in my life. Family. I got incredible brothers and sisters. I have 2 brothers, 4 sisters. I have 7 brothers, brother-in-laws. I have countless friends, and they've been incredible.
Yeah. So in your treatment, then you got the physical, you got the spiritual component, which is so important, and then the mental, right? Watch my thoughts and all that stuff. So Bob's going to give you some insight here as we kind of wrap up. But I would just say, in life, there is, we're all gifted to meet some really, really special people. Probably on one hand, you could count them. And certainly this guy right here is one of them. So if you pray, as Bob said, however you pray, make sure you send some over here. And, the Wizard of Oz is a favorite in our house, and my mom used to love it. And I remember, they're all going at the end. They need something in life, right? The Tin Man needs his heart. And there's just a great line there that I always associate with certain people. But the wizard says, he says, the Tin Man, he says, for you, my galvanized friend, he says, remember that a heart, right, a person is not judged by how much they love, which Bobby Sinnott does a whole lot, but by how much they're loved by others. So as you bear this cross, you know, my brother, my seventh brother, as you look around, man, there is a shitload of people that love you. So let that energy settle on you as well, because that's pretty powerful. So 2 or 3 things, Bob, that you would offer to whoever's listening or watching as they continue on their life, with their crosses, without, just on this journey of life.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important, no matter how you live life, whether you're sick or not, to have balance in your life. I think that's something I always preach to my kids, you know. So you want to make sure you're taking care of your physical self, your spiritual self, your social self, your financial self, and your work self. And it's important to have that balance. In terms of how I'm dealing with what I'm going through, we pray a lot, which I think is important, having faith in your life. I think without faith, I don't know where we would be. We keep praying for the miraculous event to occur, that I'm going to wake up one day and this is all going to be over. And sometimes I think this is a dream, but I also realize that there are small miracles every day that we receive, and it's the miracle of family, it's the miracle of friends, it's the miracle of support. I've learned some things along the ways, which have been hard for me. One is to allow people to help you. I've always been the healer in my life, and now I'm the one who needs to be healed, so I've learned to accept that. And also to recognize the goodness of people. You know, we hear so much bad things about our world, but there's so many good people out there that have shown us things and shown us support. And I'm very fortunate to have an amazing family. You know, I have 4 great kids. Matt moved back from California. Patrick, I call him my prodigal son because he never moved away. He stayed local. Stephen, he was in Dallas and he chose to move back home, and you know, he's starting over again with his job. And my daughter Kathleen, who's been living with us, and you know, she's just, you know, you love your sons, but you really love your daughter. And my wife Trish, you know, she is the most amazing person that I've ever known. I'm very blessed to have her in my life. She never says no for an answer. She's got incredible passion for the way she lives her life, and without her, you know, this would be a whole lot harder. And she says to me on a daily basis that I'm not going to treat you like a sick person, and we're going to live our life, and we're going to get the best out of every day, and we're hoping that we have a lot of those days ahead of us. And our motto again is, we're brokenhearted, but we're not broken. We're moving forward. We're going to do everything we can to help those around us and to help other people deal with this disease. You know, we've been in contact with people who have been diagnosed, and it seems like we get a call every other week from somebody who knows somebody who's diagnosed, so we try to reach out and help as best we can.
Yeah.
So that's the way we're going to approach this.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, I just want to give a shout out. I have this pen pullover on because my niece Lizzie just committed to University of Pennsylvania for track, so that's why I'm wearing this.
And you'll be in the stands in the spring.
Oh, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
At Franklin Field. That's good. Shout out. Good. Well, I certainly enjoyed having you, and I would just encourage everybody here, reflect on what Bobby spoke about, bump it up against your life wherever you are, and think about what are 2 or 3 things that you can do differently, or how can you think differently to bring more happiness, joy, fulfillment to your life, and to the lives of the people that you love. So pay attention, keep an eye out there, and God bless. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Yep, love you too. Take care.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us for another episode of 11 Minutes to Inspiration. I thought it was just great. I had a really good time doing this one. I'll trust you gained value and insight as you continue to create and harness the tremendous power of inspiration. And as always, I'm wishing you much happiness and fulfillment on this wonderful journey called life.